will give us. But if the fullbacks are all down the line and you play the fullback, then he's very far away from some other players, and it takes really long to get the ball over there. So if you are playing closer to each other, then the ball goes faster from one foot to another, and that gives less time to the opponent to defend.
Arne Slot. Na 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 na. Welcome to the channel. Today we're diving into why Liverpool is set to win the league, and it all comes down to Arne Slot. After Klopp's departure, many thought it was the end of an era. With Slot, he had different ideas, and since the start of the season, I can't see a team that's performing better than Liverpool. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, and that notification bell, and let's get right into this video. Arne Slot was a relatively unknown commodity before moving to Liverpool. Rarely did anybody say his names in upcoming coaches searches, but he was definitely a tactician waiting to burst. After Jurgen Klopp abruptly announcing his retirement midway through the season, Liverpool fans were shocked. They didn't know who was going to take over. Was this the end of an era? But before we take a look at that, let's see what happened last season and why Liverpool didn't win the league. After their previous season, it was clear that Liverpool needed a midfield rebuild, starting at the 6. And Moises Caicedo was one of the best on the market. But instead of actually doing the groundwork, Liverpool plated a last-minute offer of £160 million and got rejected. And after that, because they waited so long, they also got rejected by Romeo Lavia, the one who they chased in the beginning of the summer. So they're left short-handed after all that. In comes Wataru Endo, Stuttgart midfielder not known by anybody, but was there to be the backbone. But that's what we thought. Cause in the season, instead of actually playing Endo, he actually decided on playing McAllister in the 6, which shocked everybody because McAllister was an attacking midfielder. But it actually ended up being really good for Liverpool. As you can see here, in the first 21 match weeks, Liverpool was top of the table with a 5-point lead. Seemingly being charged by his announcement of earlier in the season, Liverpool went on to win the Carabao Cup, dismantling Chelsea with a group of youngsters. Everything seemed to be going right for Liverpool until that 3-1 loss against Arsenal. Before this loss, Liverpool were almost destined to win the league. Everybody felt like it was the storybook ending for Klopp. But it seemed like everything started crashing down from this moment. Later on in the season, they crumbled in a 3-4 defeat in the FA Cup to Manchester United, who were bottom of the table. I mean, legitimately one of the worst teams in the league. It seemed like fatigue was setting in to Liverpool. That gen pressing metal rock football was too much for these players. And after that loss to Manchester United, they went on to lose 1-0 at home to Crystal Palace, effectively ending their title hopes in the season. That United loss was actually the catalyst towards their poor run of form towards the end of the season. I mean, they were knocked out of the FA Cup, the Europa League, their Premier League season was over. It was hopeless for Liverpool fans, especially now that the legendary Jurgen Klopp was leaving as well. So much uncertainty was around the club. But Klopp, he told them, don't worry, there's a coach coming in. And he told them it was la 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 Arne Slot. Na 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 na. It's really such a catchy tune. I can't stop singing it. But he had them ready because he knew a mastermind was coming in. Problem was, because of Eric Ten Hag, he left such a bad rep on coaches coming from the Eredivisie and even players. A lot of people thought they're just slow, they don't understand the game, who knows if they can get up to the intensity of the Premier League. But Slot, he was different. Slot was known for his tactics, known for his high-intensity football and his reputation for developing young talent, which made him a perfect fit for Liverpool's next generation of players. But let's get into Arne Slot's tactics. As you can see here, I got a screenshot of how Feyenoord would build up in possession. Sometimes it would be a back 3, sometimes it would be a back 4, but one thing that would always be common is the center backs would stay wide, drawing the opposition in to press so you can play through central progression. That's his number one theme. Slot loves to play through the middle. As you can see here, Wiefer, who happens to play at Brighton, would always be in the half spaces, finding slip balls to his wingers and strikers. Slot loves patient build-up. That's his number one thing. But one thing he loves most is a double pivot in build-up. Slot loves using a double pivot because effectively, when you're building from a 3, it gives so many options to play through the middle. As you can see here, Kukoc and Wiefer would drop deep, forming a box in a sense. That box was all for numerical superiority in the midfield. Because at the end of the day, it's how you dominate a game. Now Slot, his pressing was similar to Klopp's because he liked high pressing as well, but his high press came with discipline. A lot of the times you would see that Feyenoord, when they would press high, they would also be compact, not leaving space to be played through. This led to their obscene amount of turnovers in the defensive third. What I also noticed about Feyenoord's pressing was they adopted the modern way of shadow pressing. I know that sounds kind of weird, but basically you would effectively take out another player from possession with the way that you're positioned, as you can see here. Whether you're in attack or defense, one thing I noticed very quickly from watching Feyenoord was Slot's principles stayed throughout. The compactness, the high intensity, the discipline, the slow build-up. It could be found in every single player. It was astounding. Now, how has this translated to Liverpool? Slot has rejuvenated the team. Trent Alexander-Arnold thrives in a hybrid role. Salah's attacking output has been optimized. Plus, even young players like Curtis Jones is stepping up in Slot's system. It's incredible. Slot's influence is showing on all fronts. After playing Real Madrid and Bayer Leverkusen, Liverpool are top of the table of the Champions League with only 1 goal conceded. That is ridiculous. And then you look at their Premier League form. They've only lost 1 game, and they're 4 points above Chelsea and 6 points above Arsenal with a game in hand. So far, Liverpool are passing the eye test as champions, but I like to see the underlying numbers to support it. And guess what? They're passing that as well. In this graph, you can see the average shot taken versus average shot conceded inverted. So the higher you are, the better you are. And Liverpool, as you can see, are perfectly balanced between taking a lot of shots and conceding a low amount of shots. Watching Liverpool, I had a feeling that they're playing so much more discipline in defense, and the numbers back it up as well. In this graph, it's inverted as well. It shows the high shot protection and in-box shot conversion. And Liverpool, guess what? Perfectly balanced. Again, going along with that trend about perfectly balanced, look at their regular play XG and their set piece XG. Again, they're alone. They're the most balanced team in the league, and the numbers reflect it. The eye test confirm it. I mean, what more can I say? Their set piece defense is even elite. They're number 1 in the league in that sense as well. The only team that pips them in defense is Arsenal, but that's only by 0.02 in regular play XG conceded per game. That is ridiculous. They're suffocating teams. And why do they suffocate teams? Is because they're one of the most high-pressing, high-intensity teams in the league. In this graph, you can see again, they're in the top 3. The most successful coaches in today's game are the ones that look at the players and mold their system around them. I mean, look at this graph. They're one of the most slow and intricate teams in the league. That's a far cry from what Klopp used to be. But you know why? Because the slower and more intricate you play, the more control you have in a game, less variables for you to lose. And a player who's thriving under Slot so far is Ryan Gravenberch. A player who was deemed a flop under Klopp is actually their best player. And it's all down to Slot realizing that his traits fit his system. And now he plays as a 6, something that Liverpool were crying for just a season ago. And guess what? The numbers back it up. As you can see here, he's performing as the 3rd best midfielder in the performance index. And then if you take it deeper, he's actually performing in all the categories that you want in a DM. Another player that I wanted to highlight that's rejuvenated under this Slot system is Luis Diaz, somebody who was maligned because of his end product and just being a dazzling on the ball player is now effective. And it's all because Slot moved him to the 9, something that nobody would have guessed. And this season, he's outperforming his previous season in 21 less games. Can you see how outrageous that is? And that's all because of profiling. Slot is nailing it across the board. Again, let's circle back to what I said before. Title-winning teams are perfectly balanced. And in regular play XG and set piece XG, where do you see Liverpool? Right on the axis of being perfectly balanced. Slot, you're doing it. And to continue about the balance aspect, I talked about how great they are defending, but look at their attacking. They're creating 2.4 XG a game. And then you ask why. Well, look at this picture here. Look how many people are in the box. That's because Slot wants numerical superiority, and he's doing it with better players. Look at this attack against Ipswich in the beginning of the season. Look how many people are running, committing themselves to get into the box. I mean, freak sakes. Alexander-Arnold's back to being overlapping fullback. I mean, a big reason why Klopp started to fail at Liverpool is because he started pushing Alexander-Arnold into the midfield. I know that's a hot take, but I think when you take Alexander-Arnold's great ability of whipping crosses into the box, it kind of neuters his best ability and it kills Liverpool's attack, in my opinion. I mean, it's the difference between inverting in the midfield and starting in the midfield. But I want to take a look at Liverpool's defensive structure. As I said, in Feyenoord, he likes compactness. And here they press in a 4-2-4, leaving very little gaps in the middle. And a trigger would be as soon as Van Heck passes that ball into Ayari, Liverpool jump at that. And guess what? Counterattack, goal. Klopp was a little different in his pressing. As you can see, he commits way more into the high press, almost leaving the back two vulnerable to a counterattack or a quick direct goal. This is the difference between Klopp and Slot. And as I said, there's a difference between inverting in the midfield and starting in the midfield. Alexander-Arnold, in their most recent game against Spurs, finds himself in acres in space in the midfield. And guess what he does? He shows his trait that very few players have, that whip cross. He makes eye contact with Luis Diaz, who, again, is playing the 9, and whips in a KDB-esque pass. And Liverpool go up 1-0. But that's all because Trent doesn't start in the midfield. He moves himself into there when he finds the space. In that same game, Liverpool shows they can kill you with 1,000 cuts. You want to press them ultra high? Well, guess what? Diaz moves out wide, Szoboszlai moves up to the 9, wins the header like he's freaking Chris Wood, and they're off to the races. I mean, look at the bodies committed. All 4 of them running, hungry for a goal. At this point, it was already 2-0. And then, bang, Szoboszlai scores. This is the type of hunger that you need to win the league. You want to kill off games, and you show different forms of winning. Slot ball. Last graph that I wanted to show why Liverpool are going to win the league is expected goals for and expected goals against. And it's inverted. So the higher you are, better defensively. The higher to the right you are, better offensively. Manchester City were in the middle. They won the league. Now, flip it to this season. Who's in the middle? Liverpool. Arsenal, still the best defense, but offensively not as good. Chelsea, really good offensively, but weak defensively. Liverpool, perfectly balanced as all things should be. That's why they're going to win the league. Of course, there are challenges. Injuries could disrupt the flow. Rivals, of course, adapt to Slot's tactics. But if there's one thing we learned about Slot, is that he's a problem solver. His ability to tweak his system mid-season will be crucial in overcoming these obstacles. And I have no doubt that Slot will adjust if people adjust to him. And to wrap this up, Liverpool's new era under Arne Slot is nothing short of thrilling. Klopp's departure made it seem like it was the end of an era, but it's just beginning. Let me know in the comments if you think Liverpool's going to win the league, because I sure do. Don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and that notification bell. And thank you for watching.